Yeah, Garen Bratcher isn't happy. His 14-year-old daughter, Ella, in her freshman year here at San Juan High School, is getting lessons about the Black Lives Matter movement. And Ella, too, spoke with us today. She's worried about how her beliefs may impact her grade.
It just really made me uncomfortable in class.
14-year-old Ella Bratcher doesn't want to learn about the Black Lives Matter movement in her ethnic studies class, and her dad agrees.
It's going to create that divide in the classroom, and that becomes dangerous to a student.
The class is being taken online, but Garen emailed her teacher asking for an alternate lesson plan, calling BLM a radical group.
The ethics behind them is not something that you should be teaching a 14-year-old child. It sounded more like a recruitment seminar than it did an educational experience.
His request was denied. The class isn't required for Ella to graduate, but every freshman at San Juan High School is automatically enrolled in ethnic studies. In an email the family shared with CBS 13, Ella's teacher says the framework for the class comes from the Department of Education, and the teacher would only modify a lesson plan for a student with an individualized education plan in special education. Tanya Faison, founder of Sacramento's Black Lives Matter movement, says it's important for all young people to learn about Black history, and that includes BLM.
It's about time that our schools are teaching our kids the truth, somewhat of the truth about history in our country.
So it's Monday, and you know what that means. It's another episode of Black versus the Board of Education. My name is Miss Maureen, and I'd like to welcome you all to another episode. And as you can see, hold on, so I want to make sure y'all see this. I have all 6 of my girls here, all of the classes represented. Nobody's getting out of here unscathed. Understand, when we say that we came to bring it, that's exactly what we plan to do today. So ladies, before we get officially started, why don't you go ahead and make sure everybody knows that you're in the building. Trinity, go ahead and kick us off, Mama.
Hi, everyone. I'm Trinity. I'm a junior at Laguna Creek High School in Elk Grove, California. And I'm very excited to be here. And I'm even more excited that we're all here today. It's been a while.
Lex, go ahead and take it away.
Hey everyone, my name is Lex. I'm a senior and 17 years old in the Sacramento area, and I'm also glad that we're all here today. It's been a minute.
Janice, it's on you.
Hi everybody, I'm Janice. I'm a freshman in high school, and I'm from Sac too, so happy to be here.
Perfect. And Mariah, say hello. Uh-oh. Let's go to Melissa.
Hi guys, my name is Melissa. I'm a 14-year-old freshman in Southern California, and I'm so excited that we're all here. The conversation is going to be awesome today.
Fantastic. And Dee Dee, it's on you.
Hi, my name's Adia, and I'm a sophomore at Intercom High School. And yeah, I'm really excited to get talking with you guys about some ethnic studies.
Fantastic. So I don't know what's going on with Mariah, but Mariah is here. She looks so beautiful on the screen. And so we'll wait for her to pop back in, see if we can't get her unfrozen. But ladies, so a lot has happened since last week. And so because a lot has happened, we want to kind of bring you up to speed on some of the stories that are going on right now. So wait, before we do that, come on, Mariah. Before we do that, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, guys. My name is Mariah. I'm a 16-year-old living in California.
All right. So we got 16, 17, 14. Did I hear 15? No?
I'm 15.
Okay, 15. Okay. All right. So all y'all are up in here. That's what's up. So listen, let's go to our first story. I can't remember which one it was. So Jada, go ahead and help me out. What are we talking about first? There's a lot of folks behaving badly, y'all. A lot of folks behaving badly. And it looks like she won't. Okay. All right. Oh, yes. We're talking about ethnic studies today. And this beauty right here, this is amazing. So she's bringing up a warm up in class about Tupac. And she says, how is the word nigger complicated? How has it changed? What say you? This the type of ethnic studies we talking about? This what y'all want to see in your schools?
Hell no.
No.
That.
So give me some reactions. I mean, what should have happened to this teacher? Because I understand, based on the principal's letter, she was placed on administrative leave. Is that too much or too little?
That is too little. She owes her students an apology, a realization or an awareness of her actions. I think she should have been fired. But lately, people have been saying I'm mean, but
ain't no mean. Go ahead. It's okay. It's okay. Just give me your honest reactions.
She
And
needs to be
everybody
fired.
okay, fired. Anybody else have a different opinion?
No, I agree. She deserves. I mean, she needs to recognize what she did, apologize to the students and the people she's harmed, and then she should have been fired. It's not okay to like. It's not a controversial subject.
And this, I was on Twitter earlier, and it says, my former English teacher had this warm up on the board today. A lot of us have personally witnessed her racism, and nothing was ever done about it. Why is Miss Holshire, I think that's how you say, Holshire, still allowed to teach at a school as diverse as Stratford High? So this teacher had a history of racism on campuses, and yet the administration decided to keep her in the classroom, and this is the type of curriculum she's bringing to students. So yeah, that's a hell no for me, and she better be glad I'm not in Texas.
I'm a little confused.
What are you confused about?
Because doesn't curriculum has to be like reviewed by someone higher up? Like,
well, I'm not sure this is curriculum. This looks like a warm-up. And this might have been, something that she thought of herself in her own infinite wisdom. She decided to present this as if it was curriculum, I suppose. And so absolutely she should be fired. So next story, Jada. Next story. I've been finding some doozies, y'all. And we got to be a little quicker on the draw, Jada. So stay hooked in. Oh, this one was from last night.
oh.
I think Trinity, you texted you you tagged me in it last night. So this is one of my favorite school districts, Elk Grove Unified, and they say more than meets the eye. Let's fight racism. What do you see? And they use this picture of this young person, this lady, tech genius, drug addict, or social worker. What do y'all think?
I think they were talking about biases. I'm not sure what this picture has to do with racism at all, but I tagged it because people in the comments have me weak. Like they were going off.
They were really funny.
Yeah. And then ultimately they ended up deleting the post, and I was like, what? Like, what is that? I don't even know. I was like, this is bizarre. Like, it's crazy.
Okay, but explain to folks who may not understand why that may be bizarre to you. Why would that particular graphic be bizarre to you as a student in Elk Grove Unified? Why would that be bizarre?
Ooh, I think.
Come on, Mariah, somebody speak to me.
Okay, Trinity and I are like, we have literally been pushing. We were like, oh, we can make posts for you. We can give you hints on like how we can, let's combat racism. And they're just like, oh, no, you're good. You're good. And then we get this. Baby, what do you get that?
So you offered to help. Is that what I just heard you say?
Yes.
You guys offered to help them with their media, and they turned you down, and then they produced this crap that they call outreach
multiple times.
First of all, she's white. I guess she's white. Like the girl in the picture is white. What does that have to do with racism? Like that's absolutely nothing to do with racism. And then this little hashtag thing they have going on is performative. Like they don't care about the actual problems because we've been, like Mariah said, we've been in the meetings in and out. And you have to, Miss Lorraine. You know how they get down. They don't care about the problem. They just want to appeal to the audience. They want to shut us up, if you will. And like this, I don't know. It was just like it's embarrassing at this point. Like,
right. And so I just have to be honest with y'all. I'm still ticked off from last Tuesday's board meeting with Elk Grove Unified. In that meeting, they portrayed me as a liar. And that they told the board, that the superintendent told the board that they had contacted me and they had spoke to me regarding discipline of Black students in the district. Now, not only did nobody speak to me about that, the one call that I did get was 2 hours before the board meeting. And it was talking about the FBSU meeting that the families of Black students united that what happened in the district. So not only was it disingenuous, I think what your superintendent did was called around and say, hey, has anybody spoken to Ms. Pryor? Somebody said, yeah. And then he's like, oh, well, we said we was going to call you, but we told so-and-so to call you. And my understanding is that you talked to her. I talked to a lot of people. I've been working in and out of this district for 3+ years. I talk to a lot of people. So to portray it as though it was like a gotcha, like, oh, we talked to her, like, I don't know what she's talking about. No, you didn't. The reason you didn't include it in the board communication is because it never happened. So we're going to have to stop. And the only way to get to the bottom of these issues is to admit when you are wrong, right? And you cannot, attitude reflects leadership. So if the leadership is being a bald-faced lie, what do you expect those who are up under him to do? So we're going to nip that in the bud. We are not going to play these games in these districts. You were wrong. You need to apologize. And I'm not taking an apology that says, oh, well, I missed protocol. No, you lied. And then you tried to cover it up. So we're going to have to stop that. I'm not going for it anymore. They owe me an apology. They said it on the record. They called me a liar on the record in so many words. They need to apologize on the record. And then we can talk about moving forward. Okay. Next story, Jada.
Okay. Yeah.
I can't stand it because I be out here working for y'all and they just like to gaslight, and we're not doing that. So this story happened today. This was a couple of hours ago. A school shooting in Tennessee. And the reason why I included that, one, because it's super current, but a lot of times when we have school shootings, the perpetrators do not look like the student group that is the most disproportionately disciplined group in schools. So when you're talking about SROs being placed on campuses, SROs were placed on campuses because of school shootings. They were not placed on campus to abuse Black students, period. That's not why they were there. They were not there to just keep their eye on Black students. They were there to avoid and to protect the student body and to avoid more school shootings. And they've gotten away from that, especially when there's no school shootings happen out here. What are they doing on our campuses? And I've been asking that question for years too. Hopefully one day we'll get an answer. Did you guys know about the school shooting today? No. Okay. I'm gonna need y'all to keep your eyes and ears open because there are things happening around you that you're missing out on, and we always want to be informed. The last story that I have, we understand that there was a young man who was taken last night by law enforcement. The lady said that she mistook her gun for a taser, and this beautiful young man was taken from his son, who turns 2, I believe, very, very soon. And so we wanted to give our condolences to his family. But the reason why I chose to put a still picture instead of a video is I know that you all are always bombarded by videos, and so I wanted to be mindful of your mental health. But we have to have these conversations, not really in a vacuum, but to make sure you guys are doing okay. I don't want to be like your teachers and put you in a class and just throw stuff at you. I really want to check in with you guys. So, are you guys aware of this incident that happened last night?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So how are you feeling? Go ahead, Janice.
I just became aware of it a few hours before we logged on because I seen it on Instagram because I'm not really on social media, but when I get on there, you see stuff. So I seen that and woo.
Yeah. So once again, Minnesota finds itself in the spotlight for police brutality in a sense. And so, Lex, how are you processing what is going on nowadays?
I was surprised this case in general because I'm pretty sure it's really close to where George Floyd was killed.
11 miles, I think. Mm-hmm.
11 miles. Yeah, it's pretty close. And then, of course, the trials going on, and this happens, like, it seems like a chain of events. And it seems that this place in general, there seems to be a lot of bad things going on. And it's really heartbreaking because if I remember correctly, they said that his air fresheners were hanging from his car, which is why he got pulled over in the first place. And just seeing that, it was like really disheartening. You know, they'll find the smallest things to pick at us and chew us away slowly. It was really just disheartening when I read that story.
Yeah.
And it takes a toll on me, especially this person looks like someone that I know, actually. So when I saw that, I was like, wait, I think I know this person. But I was like, no, I don't. But still, it's like seeing our people or people who look just like us or people that look like our friends, you know, it's really just takes a toll on you every day. And you're just like you're going through the motions and you don't know when someone could strike on you or like something like this could happen. And so it really makes me not want to get up in the morning and go succeed or try harder to succeed in the world. So it's really sad.
It's frustrating also because that could have been, like Lex was saying, that could have been my dad with me or with my little sister. That it could have been someone that I know, and that could have, it still impacts me, but it could have impacted me much closer to home. And so you have to fear that every single day that that could happen to you or to someone that you know. And it's frustrating and it isn't talked about enough. And they'll find the little things that inflict the bigger things that inflict harm on our people. And it's frustrating.
Yeah. And just real quickly before I turn it over to Dee Dee, I just want to acknowledge that Stephon Clark's grandmother is watching you guys right now. So we just want to send a big shout out and a big virtual hug out to Miss Sequita for joining us today. Thank you so much. Dee Dee.
Yeah, I think it's so sick. You know, air fresheners, like I feel like there's nothing Black people can do to escape racism, no matter where you are. And one thing I also found really disheartening that I also saw on Instagram right before I logged on is like Biden was telling people like protesting, like, oh, just be peaceful and stay calm, blah, blah, blah. And I just find it very ironic that we're always looking at the protesters, telling them to be calm and peaceful, but we're not looking at the police and critiquing them. So yeah, that's something that I've noticed since especially this summer. But I also, you know, one thing I try to do to cope is like I very much try to cope through like spirituality and knowing that there's a divine plan. But it's still hard to, you know, because that could be any one of us. So
yeah. Facts.
Especially,
oh, Janice, go ahead, Mama.
Especially because, like, you know, we're getting to the age, especially like the older ones. You guys are getting ready to start driving and stuff like that. So it's just like a fear in my heart. Like, you know, I come on with y'all every day, and it's just like that would really break me knowing, like, getting the call that, oh, something happened to one of you guys while y'all were driving. Like, especially with like new cars and stuff, everybody wants air freshener. Everybody gets that. That's something that everybody gets, like, you know. And it's just like, you know, we get profiled for the littlest things, and then, you know, we turn up dead. And then it's like they want us to remain calm during protests, but then you guys got thousands of white people raiding the Capitol, and y'all don't do nothing like that to them.
Yeah. And I must have missed something because you would teach what quickly? Do you know what he's referring to? I missed something in the conversation. What would you teach quickly, Zeph? Just so I would incorporate a little bit of life skills in class. Well, yeah. How about just competence, period? Because you got a lot of incompetent people in positions to lord over our children, but that's a whole nother comment or a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. Trinity, did you want to add to it before we move on?
I mean, it's just like it's like tiring to continuously see these videos. Like, I don't think that people understand like how it feels to like hear the police like shoot at a Black person, to like see like a police officer like murder someone on camera repeatedly throughout the day, and then like have to see their picture continuously, you know, reposted, even though people are just like, you know, trying to bring awareness to the situation. It's like, I don't even know the word, like it hurts like deeply. Like it's like, wow, like this just keeps happening. I don't even know what to do. And then, you know, like all of us, we're very involved in our communities and like trying to make change and do our part. And, you know, it's like sometimes it's like discouraging. It's like, man, nothing's ever going to change, you know? So, yeah.
It's just ridiculous. You know, like at this point, everyone's like, oh, are you keeping up with the trial? And it's just like, why is there a 4-week trial for a murder that we all witnessed? we all witnessed in less than a minute. And it's just like, it's not even like disheartening is a word. Like, it's enraged. Like, I'm angry. And it's like, there's a pattern and nobody is being aware of like what's going on. It's like, why are these people still put in positions of power? Like,
and I think it's also, you said, is there a trial? Because, based on the way the law is written, everybody is innocent until they're proven guilty, right? And so he's afforded the opportunity to go to a trial. We or our men don't normally see the inside of a courtroom because they are executed on the street. And so we have to understand that there's a difference between the way people are being treated based on the color of their skin. And until we can get that, there's not going to be, this whole peaceful thing that everybody's wanting, because I think the more peaceful people are, the more they take advantage of that. And they continue to do what they've always done, which is be brutal. And it's unfortunate, actually. So we're talking, and we're going to segue into our topic for this week. And we're talking about ethnic studies. And Dee Dee, I know that you are kind of leading the charge for ethnic studies in your district. Why don't you go ahead and kind of remind us what school district that is and what that all entails, what you're trying to do?
Yeah, 100%. So my BSU has kind of been talking to our superintendent, and he's kind of been letting us know that he's starting to write up some ethnic studies courses. And I forgot to mention, I am in NUSD, Natomas Unified School District. So that's like Intercom, the whole Natomas area. And yeah, I think ethnic studies is really important because I think students shouldn't have to fight to learn about themselves. And we should be able to learn in a global perspective. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that in theory, that sounds really, really good. But it matters who's teaching. Because to me, it doesn't make sense to put in a new curriculum and have the same teaching core teaching it. There's something wrong with your current teaching core. So how do we expect ethnic studies to be successful if we have the same people in place? What needs to happen to make this successful, this pilot program? Because I understand based on the video, they said that their ethnic studies model came from the California Department of Education. And so when we're talking about it came from the Department of Education, I think we did some research. GD did some research yesterday, and it's optional. So what needs to happen to make this a successful rollout, transition, or addition to your current school curriculum? And let me go to who's unmuted. Who's that? Janice.
It needs to be taught as close to how it occurred. I don't want the watered down, whitewashed history of my people. I want the history that actually occurred. I don't want what they want us to know. I want to know what actually occurred or close to that, because, there aren't a lot of people there from when that happened, but there's still things that, leave evidence to where we came from and how we came to be. I don't want it to be a white teacher teaching me about Black history. No, I need a Black person teaching me about my Black history, because how am I supposed to understand where I came from when I'm being taught by somebody who has no clue?
Yeah, I agree. Mariah, what would you say? Oh, who was that? Trinity? Let me go to Trinity, and then I'll come to, it looks like Melissa wants to jump in too. So Trinity, go ahead.
Yeah, I also think, so we did the same. Sorry, I don't know what that was. My balloon started moving. I'm like, but we did the same thing at our school. We kind of pushed for ethnic studies course, and we have a teacher that's teaching it. But like, I really think it's important to what is the word? Okay, just like have the students it's a safe space for students to have a conversation, to talk about the things that are put on the table, because a lot of the times we know more than the teachers know, like especially if it's like Black history. Like, I'm gonna know way more than this white teacher knows about my Black history. Like, I read books, I see it every day, so I think having a safe space where students can share their parts and their culture and their history is very beneficial in a course like ethnic studies because the truth is a white teacher, which is going to be majority of the teachers teaching ethnic studies, is not going to know the backgrounds of, Asian Pacific Islanders, Black, Black people, Mexican people, Latinx people, all of that. So I think they really have to like lift up the students in that course and allow us to teach each other and teach them, if you will. That makes sense.
Okay. Melissa?
Yeah, like everyone was saying, we're gonna need more. I don't want some Karen teaching me about my history because there's bias. So you're gonna need teachers and people in administration who actually understand how you feel when you are getting taught about white history and it's being pushed as it's American history and it's all that there is. You need Black teachers, and not just Black teachers, but Black teachers who are actually going to advocate, who are actually who know how much it matters to have history about yourself. And ethnic studies is supposed to be classes that help students understand oppression. And so if it's whitewashed, they're not going to understand that. They're going to think it's just a class I need to pass. I don't actually need to learn anything from it. And so we need more people who actually understand the importance of ethnic studies.
Mariah.
I wanted to speak. Sorry. I wanted to.
Your name ain't Mariah, though. Go ahead, Lex.
It could be. I wanted to say, go off of what Trinity was saying and what was mentioned in the video in the beginning. More on the students' perspective, I think that they need to make sure the class is safe for students. Because I know for me, just in normal class, if we're talking about something, I won't feel comfortable. Because I know, like, maybe there's a Trump supporter, or maybe there's that white kid who lives down the street. I was really Confederate parents or things like that. So I'll be like, okay, I'm not going to speak. I'm going to hold it back, or I'm not going to say what I know because I know I'll be targeted out of class or something like that. So I think they need to make a safe space for students, make sure that this class is like, I don't know what happens if the class stays in the class, or like things like that, where the students will be able to speak and learn, be proud of what they're learning, accept what they're learning, and not have to deal with like other students coming on to them because they're like, oh, that's your history, and say something stupid. Like, we need to make sure that that environment is safe and judgment free, because in a lot of times it's not, especially with the class of the curriculum that they're going to be learning. I think that needs to happen.
Mariah?
We need teachers. We need Black teachers who are knowledgeable to be teaching these classes. Teachers who we feel comfortable with and who are knowledgeable about teaching that, our history. Because I know if right now the teacher who's going to be teaching ethnic studies next year, he's white. He's cool. He tries, but he doesn't know. And you can tell he doesn't know in his dialogue and the way that he delivers his information to us. And it's going to be reflecting on the students as how we're perceiving it if our teacher doesn't necessarily know what he's supposed to be giving to us.
Right. And you know what? As you were talking, Lex, it was very disturbing because you said that this has to be a safe environment for students. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, why would learning about someone else's history other than yours make the other students feel like they want to react or lash out violently? And it's, again, part of that history that has come through. We're looking at redlining, Jim Crow South. We're looking all the way back to slavery. So I'm just trying to figure out why you feel like it has to be what happens in the classroom stays in the classroom in order to keep yourself safe. Like that is what stuck out to me as you were talking. So why are you fearful of being in an ethnic studies class? And this is for anybody can jump in, because what I heard Lex communicate was that it was a fear component to being in a class like ethnic studies. And Trin, you unmuted, so go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, I always, to piggyback on that, I necessarily don't fear like the ethnic studies class per se, but I do fear the dialogue, that can happen. Just like I fear, like when I speak out about the things I notice that are wrong on campus, the racist people, you know, the racist acts that are going on campus, I get scared because it's like the people, like the Trump supporters, the racist people, the people who do not want to change are so like, it's like it's like them, like it's just them, it's like so deep within them. And then also you have to think about like the system was made that way, so ethnic studies is kind of like, it's like an outlier like in the discussion. So I don't know, I it's scary because it really is like a danger. Just like when I reported the blackface thing, I was very intimidated. Like I didn't want to like be the one to post it, but I wanted people to know because it is dangerous to not know that there's people on campus doing blackface and that have horrible intentions in the face of black people and towards black people. It's just dangerous, really. Like I don't know.
I think it's like fear of having to argue about like my history, like having to really sit in the classroom and being in the classroom setting and arguing with the person teaching me whatever it is they're trying to talk about, and having to argue with them about my history and having to really go into deep discussion. And then, you know, a lot of people, they're not in the business of minding their own business and they like to jump into things. And it's just like, we're always, especially as a black student in the classroom, they'll jump on us real fast. It'll be two of them against us, one person trying to argue and defend ourselves. And then I worry about getting backlash academically. Like I care about I want to go to college. So it's just like more so if you fail me right now because I gave you back mouth and you try to, you know, send me to OCS and do stuff like that to where I don't get what I should have got from that class. So like that's a fear because it's just like I care, like I want to be the difference. I want to go to college. I want to finish. And it's just like I can't do that getting poor grades. And I know teachers, you know, if they can't mess with us like within the classroom, they'll definitely mess with that grade on that report card.
Dee Dee.
Yeah, bouncing off what Janice said, I have a lot to say kind of about this topic, but I think, you know, white students not feeling comfortable in ethnic studies courses, I think is definitely stems from just white entitlement and always wanting to center whiteness because white people have always been centered and like been the center of everything. So I think that's part of it. And I also relate to what Janice said about like talking to about stuff or like about injustices and feeling like you're going to be hurt academically. Like I know one time she wasn't even a teacher. She was like a sub, like a long-term sub or whatever. And I had wrote a narrative piece about police brutality. And then I wrote it and she was trying to the principal about it. She was trying to give me a bad grade about it, all this stuff. So I definitely resonate with that of like feeling like I'm going to get hurt academically and get a bad grade on something if I do speak out against what the teacher views. So.
Melissa.
Going back, yeah, Janice said that having to argue with your peers about your history. Like I've had to do this so many times, especially around when the George Floyd murder, about having to argue just to prove that I have the right to exist. Like people are saying that like just conversations that would come up just about the riots and like, oh, well, people shouldn't riot. Like, yeah, I get that. But it's hard when you have to argue and try and prove that you have the right to exist. And so that's why those are the kind of conversations, and people are ignorant, and those are the kind of people who would be my peers in the class. And so it's just hard to want to take a class that called ethnic studies that acts like it wants to help educate people on my history, but it's whitewashed. And then you have all the other people who are in the class who have their own biased opinions, and you have the teachers who are also have the same opinion, so they're going to automatically team up with those students against you. So it makes you not want to say anything and have to argue with people you shouldn't have to argue with.
I also fear like not like I know it's excuse me. And I know it's an ethnic studies course, and I know it's supposed to be inclusive and diverse. My bad. But I also like I'm like scared about the curriculum that's going to be taught. Like I feel like a lot of the times when people think of like Black history, they think of like slavery and Jim Crow and not other parts of history or other figures in history. And I hope like even in my ethnic studies and hopefully in yours too, Didi, like that they don't just center Black history and our history on that, because that stuff is traumatic. And also we've been learning about it since what, 5th grade, 6th grade. So in the same like watered down Eurocentric version of Black history. So yeah.
Yeah, bouncing off of, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Bouncing off what Trinity said too, I think it's also really important when we talk about developing ethnic studies curriculum is getting views from, like, when you're talking about African history, getting views from African people, you know, because as we know it, I think history was written by the quote unquote victors, which is white people. So, you know, I think Mussolini is going to have a different view of Ethiopia and their customs and their traditions and their history than Haile Selassie. You know what I mean? So, and I also think when we don't look at, let's say, when we're talking about Native American history and we don't go to Native Americans, we're purpose of ethnic studies is to get a global perspective, but we're still being fed the same white ideology of history. So I think it's really important that when we talk about ethnic studies and developing curriculum, that we don't just look at Columbus's journals, but we go talk to Africans and Native Americans and all this stuff in order to get true developed history.
And I also, bouncing off of what she said again, I also think it's important that we discuss the certain terms like microaggressions, prejudice, equity, equality, and so on and so forth. I think it's very important to understand that. And then I also think it's important to distinguish the difference between ethnic studies and cultural studies when teaching that class, because once you understand those words, it becomes easier to understand, not easier, but it kind of, you know, flows the way that, like, why history is the way history was, and then like why things are happening now. Like, so words like racism, prejudice, and equity and equality, all those words need to be taught, and like all the phobias and all of that. So yeah.
So hold on, Janice, before we go to you, what I just heard you say is, I heard the words inclusive. I heard the words whatever, you know, like, you said all the phobias, but isn't that kind of diluting a lot of the different things that we're asking ethnic studies to do? If we continue to add different things in, because ethnic studies in my mind is saying everything but white history. That's what it says to me. So when we continue to add different things into a grab bag, right, we start to kind of minimize the amount of information that's given on specific subsets of folks, right? And so then we have to kind of put it all into one course called ethnic studies. And do they get to choose? Do they pick and choose what's going to be talked about? Like, I'm just trying to understand, because for me, I've been advocating for specificity, right? When we're talking about the issues that Black students, that are unique to Black students, that Black students are having in multiple school districts nationwide, it's going to require us to be specific about talking about Black students. That's why when I just saw the comment, it said students of color. I don't do that. I'm talking about Black students right now. When we're talking about Black folks, I don't want to hear minorities. I don't want to hear BIPOC. I don't want to hear nothing but what we're talking about. And so in each of these units that are being taught, I hope that they are using specific language to center whoever it is that they're talking about in that moment, so that a real dialogue can take place. When we start to lump everything in, nobody gets their just due, because you're trying to pick and choose who's going to get the shine this time. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. I have not seen the curriculum, but I would like to. I think I should look into it. And so before you go, Janice, it looks like we had two different comments. Melissa's mom said that as a teenager, she advocated for ethnic studies, and they were absolutely targeted. The worst part is they were targeted by the principal too. Problematic. I wish I was around back then fighting like I am, because I would have came to see your principal. Sorry about that, Mama. Next time. But if it happens with Melissa, we'll definitely get into that. And then Zeph says that it's going to be uncomfortable for white students or even students of color. Yeah, it will cause great conversations in the classroom, and differences of opinion. And I think that's what we need y'all to have, be okay to give your difference of opinion without fear of retribution, which is what you just said, that you're fearful of those conversations. So my question then becomes, who's going to protect you when they go sideways? Go ahead, Janice, it's on you.
I was going to say, like, it should like stop being like so offendable. Like, people are so offendable nowadays, and I feel like going into that classroom like that should, like, you can't come in, with your feelings right on your shoulder, like, kick them off, like, don't be so easily offended. And I honestly think ethnic studies should be an A through G requirement. If we're required to do all this history, this biology, and all this other stuff to get into college, we should be required to know our history, not white history. We need to know Black history, because we're talking about our Black people. And as a Black child, I need to know my Black history. I don't care about the other history. It matters, but I've already learned about it. I want to know about my Black people, where I came from, how I came to be. I don't care about all that other history. We've learned about Christopher Columbus too many times. We don't care about him no more. What about our Black
And it was
people?
a lie. And it was a lie. Okay, carry on.
What about ours?
It was, sheesh. Well, I mean, yeah, all of that. We've learned about who they've cherry picked for us to learn about. Like Dee Dee said, it's always a certain subset of people coming out as the victors, right? They're always the heroes in the story, and we're always the antagonists, right? There's some that, they had to civilize us. We know that's a lie too. So it's about who's going to teach it, who wrote it, how is it going to be implemented, who is going to protect you once it comes down the pipeline. Those are the things that I'm looking for. Those are the things that I would like to see. So go ahead. What you about to say, girl?
Me?
I was trying to say, and when it comes to teachers, I don't want the teachers teaching me the one who's only going to, whitewash it because they're scared to lose their job. No, I need the heavy hitters. I need the ones who's going to teach me it, tell me all of it, go into detail, and learn more themselves so they can convey it back to us as a classroom. I don't need the teachers trying to keep their position. No, I need y'all to come for the head, because we need to know it all.
Well, I think Zeph said if it's offered, he'll come in and teach it. So we need to see more of them gentlemen in the classrooms anyway. We need to see it.
My biggest thing is I'm like really curious on what's going to happen when that conversation does go sideways, because like Trinity was saying earlier, when we had that blackface incident, I had that restorative practice and nothing came of it. I was
now talk to us. Wait. Talk to us about that. What do you mean nothing came out of it? Talk to us about it.
I was put in that Zoom, in the restorative practice Zoom. We were told, like, be mindful, be muted.
With the white teacher.
With a white teacher who has no history of being in restorative. Anyway, so I was put in that Zoom, hey, be muted unless I ask you to speak, and it's going to be your turn. And I was muted, and all of a sudden, the boy who did the blackface was like, well, I'm not racist. This was put on me, and, my friends, I have Black friends, and I would just never do that. Like, it's not my character. I think I'm a good human. I just don't picture myself doing that. And me muted, I'm over here saying stuff because I'm muted. And then I unmute and say, Mariah, can you calm down? So this causes me to have to bite my tongue. So your tone, please. But this is a restorative practice. Nothing's being restored. I'm still angry. I still have emotions.
Also, I don't appreciate how that was done in the dark. Like, we all talked about it. We all brought it to admin, all this. And we even have a Black, and, I'm gonna say how it is, and I appreciate Mr. Bradford. He's at my school. I appreciate him and all the work he does for us, but I don't think that little side push to the restorative circle instead of addressing the actual issue face front was cool. I don't think just putting Mariah in a face with somebody who, in a place or in a space with someone who did blackface is okay. That's not okay. And Mr. Bradford is one of the only Black staff on our campus, but he definitely initiated that conversation and that restorative practice, and nothing came about it. And also, why was a white teacher talking about blackface? He had no business in that place. I don't know. A lot of it was wrong. Yeah. And it was intentional, actually. They just wanted to shut her up and shut us up, and that's why they did that. And they did it in the dark. And so Laguna Creek High School, I'm sorry, but y'all are foul.
Time out. When did this happen?
The week after spring break. Monday.
Yeah. Remember, Ms. Lauren, I was like, do you think you'd be able to? And then you were like, a restorative practice is kind of closed off. And then in my head, I'm like, oh, I didn't know this was as closed off. So I can't ask my BSU advisors to come sit in with me. I can't ask my mom. It's closed off. In my head, I'm over here thinking okay, I'm Trinity. Me and Trinity, we going everywhere. We're trying to fight this. That's my partner. It's like, I can't ask. It's a closed off thing. I had thought Mr. Bradford was going to be there. And he's, our BSU advisor, one of the only Black teachers. I thought I was going to have a confidant sort of in the meeting. I'm sitting here. I'm put with 2 males for restorative practice. And I'm supposed to be comfortable. I'm supposed to be a sweetheart.
I'm sorry, who facilitated this restorative circle?
Mr. Spaney.
What type of teacher is Mr. Spaney?
You said
Mr. Spaney?
Yeah, S-P-A, yeah.
S-P-A what?
N-N-E.
And like, I'm supposed to be comfortable. And then he sent a follow-up email that was like, I saw you kind of bit your tongue at the end. Yeah, because I was uncomfortable to unmute. Like,
so let me tell you why that's problematic. Because y'all about to make me lose it. So the reason why that's problematic, number one, you would never ever put a rape victim, and not likening blackface to rape, but it's an offense. You would never put them in a room with their accuser and tell them to accept what was coming out of that person's mouth. So that's red flag number one. Number two is that you are a young lady. You had no support. You were not, you didn't have anybody to bounce anything off of. You were in there to fend for yourself, which is what these schools like. And I'm pissed off about it. I don't like that. And so Mr. Spaney, your school, and everybody else is going to get a letter and a request to meet, because I don't think that these people are really trained in restorative. They probably are part of that train the trainer type of scenario. They have no business in a room with Black students talking about issues that affect them, and they have no support. We're not doing that. Nope. Unacceptable. So you said nothing came out of it. So what was the point?
Literally, it's ridiculous because you're in a room and you're just like, hey, do you understand what you did is wrong? I kind of understand it, but I don't regret it. Oh, okay. End of meeting. Like, and I'm supposed to be comfortable on this campus enough to go back? I'm not going back. No, I don't have any protections. Who am I there to? I had initially thought, okay, my advisor is going to be up in here, so I'm at least be able to like private chat him saying like, oh, I feel this way. He was in there.
And you know that what type of relationship did you have with the person who was in charge or facilitating this restorative whatever?
I didn't know him initially. I didn't even know and now
you didn't know him at all?
Mr. Spaney, no, I didn't even. I had just met him. I had that meeting with Mr. Bradford. It was me, Mr. Bradford, and Mr. Spaney. He was like, you're going to have a restorative circle. Are you down for it? And I was like, sure. Because I thought it was going to be just like that, but with the boy. It wasn't. It was just me, Mr. Spaney, and the other guy. I was like, okay. And then I didn't know, but I was going to be in Mr. Spaney's class for academic competitions. So now I'm in his class, and I'm just like, oh, okay. Cool.
So let me ask you this, just so I'm clear. So we had this restorative, whatever, Zoom with this teacher that you were unfamiliar with. You did not feel supported, yet they put you in his class. Is that what you just said?
I was already been like to switch into that class, but then I didn't realize he was going to be my teacher until the day back. We were like back from spring break.
Are you comfortable in that class?
It's kind of surpassed. Like I don't really only talk when I'm called on. Like I don't like unmute. It's like I only talk when I'm called on.
Mm-hmm. And I'll ask you again, are you comfortable in that class?
Semi.
You can semi.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you trust that teacher?
No, I don't trust anyone. I don't even feel the supports in that class initially. But hey, we're supposed to be supported on campus as Black students. Like,
I'm kind of at a loss because again, you cannot restore anything without relationship, just like you can't punish without relationship. You can't hold accountable without a relationship. So the fact that they took the person that you had a relationship with and removed them from the situation is problematic for me. I have to be honest with you. Um, and this is how so many of you are left to fend for yourselves within these hostile environments. They take away the people that you are most comfortable with and put you with somebody you barely know, and you have to talk openly and honest. That means you have to be vulnerable in that situation. They did you a disservice. And I apologize on behalf of them because they were too crazy to understand that they needed to have a relationship with you. I apologize because as adults, we miss it sometimes. We miss it. We don't understand that y'all don't have the skills that we have. Y'all are learning, but you don't have the skills that we have. And so it's incumbent upon us to make sure that you feel safe enough to be vulnerable and to express why that was an issue for you. And even that other student feels safe to really take some self-reflection and say, you know what? That was really messed up of me. I could have done better. And I apologize for doing that. But to put you in there with no support, I apologize to you, Mariah. That wasn't fair to you.
And it's
I'm
just,
sorry.
you know, it's a pattern because like me and Trinity always say, it's like as student leaders on our campus, it's kind of always put on us to educate other teachers and other students. So it's like in that scenario, you know, I have to be the strong one. I have to be the educator.
And you don't. That's why you got me, and I'll get involved. That's what I'll say on here. Because that was unfair. It was unfair. And I don't like it. So, and you one of mine, so they just got to get used to seeing me. They thought I was a problem before. Okay. Because again, to put you all in positions where you feel like you have to fend for yourself, one, your children. Two, him as the adult should have known better. And so that goes to his leadership. But if their leadership is looking at the top dude and he's a big fat liar, then it comes down, it trickles down. And then those who work for him know that they don't have any accountability either. And it's a problem. And we have to do better. And I don't expect you as students to do better. I expect the adults that are in charge of this system that you guys are frequenting, I expect them to do better because they're being paid. And they are accountable to the parents. And so your parents need to be up in somebody's behind. Because this is ridiculous. What were you supposed to do in that situation? Just take it? Accept it? Yeah, okay. Yeah, seriously. We have to demand better, parents. Parents, we have to demand better. Don't go into no more meetings without somebody that you can trust with you. And if that is not a part of that meeting that's being presented to you, don't take it. Don't take it. You were under no obligation to give that boy any of your time or to give that teacher any of your time. You're not obligated to do that. You're a student leader, kid. Sorry, you're not 18 yet, so y'all kids. But y'all are students. Y'all are kids. You don't owe anybody your time. They have to earn that. And you get to pick and choose. That's part of being empowered. You get to choose. Okay. So listen, what to say? Yep. 100%, Aaron. It lies with the adults. And if our students are conveying this to us, because I don't know how long you've been holding on to that story, Mariah. Don't do that no more.
Came back from spring break.
And I don't know when that was. Y'all was what is that, the 19th of May? March? About the 19th of March. And you're carrying this around because these people did a disservice to you and put you by yourself to confront a issue that has historic origins. And they expected you to just what? No, we're not doing it. So
and it's crazy because like I remember right after I literally FaceTimed Trinity and I was like, what was that? And she was just like, she was so mad. She's like, no, that's not okay. Like
they knew what they were doing.
And it's part of that why you would be fearful to have an ethnic studies class on campus. It's part of that. It's part of that. Why you would be fearful to have these teachers teaching you when they can't even understand that relationship predates everything that they're going to do with you. And if they haven't established a relationship, they cannot operate a restorative circle. They cannot do it. Not a successful one. This is ridiculous, y'all. Seriously.
And like,
go ahead. Who's that?
Sorry, I wanted to say, like, situations like that, it's like at the end of the day, you know, nothing got fixed. And so then you're going in next week and that person's in your class and behind you or wherever they're sitting, and you just have to continue dealing with knowing that this happened, knowing it didn't get solved. And then it's just like another level of you being uncomfortable. Class is supposed to be teaching them about you. And so you just feel like you're misplaced and you don't belong in that class because of one person or maybe many other people that are sitting there with a problem that never got resolved because the students and the teacher or whatever, they did not take into their own hands to get it solved the right way. They did it the fast and easy way to actually not solve it, but just put a lid on it, put a cap on it.
Mm.
Yeah, I just want to apologize to Mariah, and I believe Trinity, you were there too, just like having to go through that. I have a question too, like what did they call you into that for? To educate, you know, they're going to call the two Black women in to educate the student on blackface on why it was wrong. I mean, I think that's absurd, but I mean, if y'all know.
Do you know why you were called in to do that restorative charade?
Like I said, you know, we're the student leaders. We're the ones that are always put forth to help educate. And
yeah, I mean, to be honest, I wasn't even supposed to be there, but I didn't want Mariah going in there alone. So I was in another meeting and I was on FaceTime with her, and I was just texting her the whole time, like, girl, this is not okay, you know? So I was just on FaceTime listening to what was going on. It was horrible. So I wasn't even supposed to be there, but like I said, I wasn't about to let her go alone. Every meeting, like student site council meeting, I'm always on FaceTime with her because I'm not having that. So just because I know our school's gonna be like, well, no one witnessed it. We can't just take your word for what it is. I heard it. I actually texted her some direct quotes that I heard him say. So like,
why y'all didn't put me on FaceTime?
and like little adults, like keep the quotes and tell Miss Lorene, and Trinity is just like. And, you know, it sucks, like, for other kids, you know, who don't have a Trinity. Because, like, me and Trinity don't have a Miss Lorene, because some kids don't have a Miss Lorene.
It is sad that we have to sneak in representation. We have to sneak in somebody else to hear the conversation. So, you know, when push comes to shove, when it's on the front line, we have to, you know, have that. Oh, Trinity was on the phone. You know, it's sad that, you know, we have to go around the bush and beat around the bush like that. Like, no, we shouldn't even be in those rooms. Like, it's out of pocket and it's not okay. No, we have our representation here with us on the front line, and you're either going to let them in the Zoom with us or you're not having a Zoom with us. Simple, and that's
100%. So nobody goes into any more meetings without a safe adult with them or somebody that they feel comfortable with, because you're right. It's going to be your word against theirs. And that's why there's two of them and one of you. Understand life. Okay. So you know what? We're winding down. We got through a whole nother hour. And y'all did good. Shout out to y'all. Come on now.
All 7 of us. Come on, guys. Like, it's all of us here today.
Oh, let's go.
Wow.
So we like to thank everybody for tuning in for another week with us. We're getting better as we go on. So make sure you tune in next week. Also, remember to follow us on Apple Podcasts and or Spotify. Leave a review, a comment. Always know that you are welcome here. So we look forward to your comments. Send your questions too, because I don't want to just be peppering the girls with my questions. I want to see some questions from you all as we interact and we learn together, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to disrupt this system that has been put in place to kind of kill our children's spirits. And we're not having that. We're not going down without a fight. So once again, ladies, thank you so very much for being open and honest, coming every week prepared. You know, we want to thank our production team, Jalen, who does our intro video. Thank you so very much. Jada, who's running the board behind the scenes and putting up all the beautiful comments and the banners. Lisa is off this week, but she will be back next week. So as always, ladies, we're going to hit them with the wave, and we're going to tell them we're going to see them next week. So 1, 2, 3, hit them with that wave. We'll see y'all next Monday, same time, same bat channel, live from Wakanda, Elk Grove. It's Black versus the Board of Education.